this government introduced draconian legislation in Bills 45 and 46 that have taken away basic, fundamental human rights for thousands and thousands of workers across this province. But it was only a few months ago, during the devastating floods, that this Premier said these same workers who helped save many lives are, I quote, heroes. Yet this Tea Party government thanks these heroes by reducing their standard of living and legislating punitive measures that effectively destroy their freedom of association and freedom of speech. How is it good public policy, Premier, to reward the excellent work of your own employees?
The Honourable Minister, Premier, Deputy Premier.
Mr. Speaker, it would be good to be able for once to deal with facts. You know, Mr. Speaker, very well that there is nothing in this bill that in any way limits the right of association. And as a matter of fact, these bills will allow the AUP and the employer, in this case being this government, to negotiate in good faith an agreement that we have reached with teachers and doctors, and we have with many others, Mr. Speaker. What this member is talking about is definitely not reflective of the legislation before this House.
Honourable Leader.
Mr. Speaker, well, this government fairly drips with hypocrisy, Mr. Speaker. To suggest that negotiating in good faith is passing legislation that forces a deal is ridiculous, absurd, and insulting to the intelligence of every member of this House. Why won't this Tea Party government stop this shameful attack on middle-class families and instead roll back some of the generous tax cuts that this government has given to wealthy Albertans and corporations?
Well, Mr. Speaker, again, the idea here is to come to a negotiated settlement, and that's exactly what we're looking to do. We have indeed, Mr. Speaker, put an offer on the table that is in fact more than what is in the legislation which we will be debating in this House. We hope that the AUP will come back to the table so that we can come to a negotiated, fair deal for our employees and a fair deal for taxpayers, Mr. Speaker. The government is working to balance both sides' interests.
Honourable Leader.
Well, Mr. Speaker, this government's hypocrisy knows no end. To suggest that this is a negotiation is ridiculous. But as far as this government is concerned, black is white, up is down, cold is hot. You know, the meaning of words are completely turned on their heads when these ministers get up and speak. So why won't this government stop their attack on public sector workers before they waste millions of dollars of taxpayers' money on an unnecessary and costly legal fight over this unconstitutional bill?
Mr. Speaker, the facts are very clear. This government wants to negotiate with AUP. We have asked that they come back to the table and negotiate in good faith until January 31st. We have, Mr. Speaker, we have run on a campaign in the last election that we will live within our means, but at the same time, unlike the opposition, we will treat our employees fairly, and we will not simply just freeze their wage. Mr. Speaker, we have reached a deal with teachers, we have reached a deal with doctors, and there is no reason to believe that we won't reach a deal with AUP.